Hi, this is the parent video that goes with the very first lesson in level book B in the lesson book. In book B, what we primarily work on are learning the names of the notes. So as you do your practicing, always have your child away from the piano and at the piano, maybe sing it while they play it. Practice saying, yes, that's an F, that's a G, and so that they can say the names of the notes on the staff. In the past, I've had them play while I say the finger numbers, and sometimes they've said the finger numbers too. We're going to try to get away from that as well, and instead for quarter notes, we're going to be saying play, 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 because that's one beat per word, per syllable. And then when they get to whole notes, it'll be whole note, hold down, and for half notes, we'll say half note, and then the next note that follows will be play, and that's what we'll say. And eventually, with me, I'm going to start doing the counting, which is not finger numbers, but it'll sound like this to the child. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And obviously, those are not the finger numbers. So we're going to get away from saying finger numbers and focus on learning the names of the notes. This book also, we're not practicing from start to finish. We are going to start practicing in phrases. And this is how I will always want you to practice with your child, is to sit down and say, we're going to do this phrase. You don't have to explain what a phrase is, but just start using the term as if they know it. We're going to practice this phrase, then we're going to practice this phrase. And so this phrase is 2 measures, and so we're just going to play to the end. And the reason why we practice in phrases is because this is a workable chunk that we can do repetitively, and it's the repetition, that's the practice, and that's where the work is, and that's where the learning comes, is from the work. So at the end of each phrase, the other thing we're going to have the child practice, and this is the technique for this book, primarily the technique from this book, is the lifting of the wrists. And they need to be able to lift the wrist, but then be able to come back down and play the next note. In the past, they've lifted their wrist at the end of a song, and they're done. Now we need to lift our wrist. We're going to use it like a shock absorber when they play. Lift the wrist, and it needs to come down on the very next beat. So we may play a half note, lift, and then play again, where it needs to come right back down with no rest in between. The other thing we're working on are intervals. And from book A, we've never skipped a note. We've always played the note right next to it, whether it's going up or down, but we've never jumped around when we play. It's always been the one right next to it. These are seconds. That's the name of the interval. A second is the one right next to it, whether it's up or down. It can be anywhere on the piano. It's the one right next to it is a second. Now we're going to be jumping around, and we're going to learn thirds, we're going to learn fourths, we're going to learn fifths, where we skip notes. That's why it's really important to learn the names of these notes. But today we're still working on seconds, so we're not doing anything different. We're going back to just playing the one right next to it. We need to watch with our eyes if it goes up or down. So the first lesson is in the lesson book 4 and 5 and the technique book 2. At the lesson, we start in the lesson book to teach the concepts. But at home when you practice, always start with the technique book. So you'll always pull that one out first if there's something to do in the technique book. And you'll start there, and then you go back to the lesson. The technique book is just to get you warmed up and to also focus on what the real skill is that we're going to be doing. So for number 4, this is really just a review of what we did in book A. It starts in C position. You may want to have your child have both hands up at the same time, and it's just the 5 fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4. No pause there between the lines. Whole note, hold down, and then they come up at the end. So that's essentially Circus Day. It's just a repeat. When you're with your child at home, have them continue to say the names of the notes. They're going up and down. Smooth rocking, this is where we're introducing legato. Legato is the word I'm going to use often. It just means have them mush the sound together. And if they're not sure what legato means, to make it smooth, if you think they're not playing it right, show them the opposite. The opposite is staccato. That's staccato, but this is legato. So with smooth rocking, the difference with this one, they're going to practice in this phrase. A slur marks the phrase. Start on finger 2, which is different. Finger 2 on D, and it's play, 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 half note. Half note. Half note. Now I did something bad there. I didn't start with both hands up. You may want to have your child start with both hands up at the same time. Remind them to hold that bubble. And then there's a repeat so they can play it a second time. Ultimately, you want to make sure that that when they're practicing this, and then they're going to practice this, but then ultimately you want them to put it together without wait time in between two. Technique. This is the third piece. You'll start with this one at home. The technique in this one. The first measure is different. The second and third measure are the same, and then you finish on that pinky G at the end. You hold it down because it's a whole note, and then you want to have them come up at the end. So right hand first, and it sounds like this. These are all seconds. They're going to have to watch carefully as they go up and down, and up and down, and up and down. 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm saying finger numbers and I'm counting at the same time. Here it is. G, F, G, F, E, D, E, D, E, D, E, D, C, hold down, 4, 4. There you go. And then it comes up. And that's smoothie. So start with that. And that's really essentially the 3 that we're going to be working on at home. The worksheets that you're going to be getting, the first one is just a note from the Note Speller book. What we're trying to do is have the child be able to discern with their eyes which is the right one. You may want to put these back into the page protectors and let them practice it a few times, because you can have them use the dry erase markers to do very different things with the page. You don't have to do just what it says. For instance, I might have the child maybe just circle the space notes, just circle the lines, circle the one that's the highest, circle the one that's the lowest, and have them maybe say the names of the other notes. You don't want to make it too gruesome for them, so just maybe do a little bit all the time. That's the first one. The second one works on the ears and listening to 3/4 time and 4/4 time. As a review, 3/4 time means you count to 3 and then you start over at the bar line, but there's no pause at the bar line. This is not a stop sign. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Words help the child hear this rhythm. Merrily, merrily, 1, 2, 3, merrily. You could say these things out loud to help them to hear that. Maybe you could find your own words. Make sure that they're quarter notes. They're not things like, let's see, like cheeseburger or hamburger, where the cheese and the ham are actually half notes. So make sure that the words that you pick are actually quarter notes. And then 4/4 time, watermelon, watermelon. 1, 2, 3, 4, watermelon. And so they can practice that at the same time. And so there's more words here that they can play to hear it. That might be kind of fun to do. This I don't work on so much. I may, if we have a little bit of time, I may teach your child how to direct. They can always watch any kind of music to see it. It's just essentially to help them feel that 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3, 4 time. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So they can do that. You can do that at home if you like. Here's the directions for that. And then this one, this is to draw slurs on. You may want to draw, just as they showed, draw the slur. You can use your other books as an example at the end. If they want to play them, they can. Wrist comes up at the end. And that's to help them to see the phrases. All right, and that's it for the very first lesson of Book B. Thanks.